and justice
liberty,
for
and
all.
justice for all.
for all.
Actually, I would like to take a moment of silence in recognition of yesterday's Memorial Day for all who gave their lives to our country. So I would like to take a moment of silence, please. Thank you for all who served. Amen. I'm going to read the disclaimer for the open meeting law. Out of respect to public health in response to the governor's declared state of emergency, this meeting will be closed to the public, and interested parties can instead access the deliberations via a live stream, which is youtube.com/user/TheBrocktonChannels/live. This meeting is being held in accordance with Governor Charlie Baker's signed open meeting law order dated March 12th, 2020, which relieves a public body from the requirement of Section 20 of Chapter 30A that it conduct its meetings in a public place that is open and physically accessible to the public, provided that the public body makes provision to ensure public access to the deliberations of the public body for interested members of the public through adequate alternative means. Mr. Clerk, agenda item number 1.
Acceptance of the minutes of the City Council of May 11, 2020.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the mayor submitting a copy of a report prepared for the City of Brockton by the Collins Center pertaining to the review and analysis of non-union department head salaries and internal comparability.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the Executive Director of the Parking Authority requesting authorization to transfer funds for personal services part-time, $20,000 to Services Security Fire, $20,000 will be used to pay for unbudgeted security expenses in the Bill Carpenter parking garage.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the mayor recommending the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
We have a communication from the fire chief requesting to accept and spend $25,000 to cover the painting of Station 1, purchase of 3 washers and dryers for stations 3, 4, and 7, upgrade of electrical panels at stations number 2, related to the installation of the washers and dryers, repair leaking and broken windows at stations 1, 2, 3, and upgrade office furniture that has not been replaced.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the mayor recommending the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
We have a communication from the DPW Commissioner requesting that the City Council transfers $1,500,000 from Highway Division's Snow Removal Fund to the City Stabilization Fund.
Accepted and placed on file.
We have a communication from the mayor recommending that the City Council provide authorization to transfer monies from the Highways Divisions of Snow Removal Fund to City Stabilization Fund in the amount of $1,500,000.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
We have communication from the Executive Director of Brockton Parking Authority requesting renewal of fiscal 2021 of the revolving fund for revenues from parking violation fines in order to pay for expenses of the authority's parking enforcement program, including salaries and other support costs of the enforcement personnel and capital projects of the authority.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the mayor recommending the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
We have a communication from the CFO in accordance with Section 5 of Chapter 324 of the Acts of 1990, certifying the proposed reauthorization of the Parking Authority's revolving fund for revenues from parking fines up to and including the amount of $250,000 for fiscal 2021.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the Director of Planning and Economic Development requesting that the City Council amend our current zoning ordinances to allow restaurants without drive-through facilities a by right use in C1 neighborhood commercial zones.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the Mayor recommending the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
We have a communication from the Director of Council on Aging requesting that the City Council provide authorization for the Council on Aging to expend grant monies from the Commonwealth of Mass for the design and construction of a parking lot expansion in the amount of $100,000.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the Mayor recommending the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
A communication from the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
We have a communication from the police chief requesting the authorization to expend grant monies in the amount of $1,300 and accept a kiosk in which citizens can drop off unused medications to be destroyed related to the mass unwanted opium benzodiazepine, this drug disposal program kiosk and funding grant.
Accepted and placed on file.
We have a recommendation from the Mayor recommending the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the police chief requesting the authorization to expend grant monies in the amount of $267,149 related to the Bureau of Justice Acceptance Fiscal 2020 Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Funding Program.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the Mayor recommending the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the city auditor requesting the acceptance of $25,000 from the auditing budget to cover part of the cost of the feasibility study contract PED 20-OPM.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the police chief requesting the transfer of $75,000 from police department personal services other than overtime, court to planning and economic development, other contract services for police, fire headquarters, feasibility study.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the Mayor recommending the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the library director requesting the city council provide authorization for the library to pay an outstanding T-Mobile bill from fiscal 19 that was sent to the wrong address. The bill is for mobile hotspots available to the community and is in the amount of $1,636.65.
Accepted and placed on file.
We have a communication from the mayor recommending the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
We have a communication from the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
We have a communication from the mayor in accordance with the provisions and stipulations of section 53E and 1/2 of chapter 44 of the Mass General Laws, recommending the reauthorization of the Comcast Revolving Fund for fiscal 2020 from all cash receipts from Comcast franchise fees in excess of $675,000 pursuant to the cable license contract, and that further, that the expenditures from this fund shall not exceed $750,000 without further appropriation during fiscal year 2021.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
We have an ordinance that the city council approve an ordinance amending chapter 27 of the revised ordinances of the city of Brockton concerning restaurants. Be it ordained by the city council of the city of Brockton as follows. Section 27-28, C1 zones, neighborhood commercial zones, paragraph 3, special permitted use is hereby amended.
Councilors, this will be referred to ordinance and planning.
Audit, total proposed transfer of $20,000 from Parking Authority Personal Services, non-overtime, to Parking Authority Purchase of Services, Security, Fire Control.
Refer to finance.
An order of total proposed transfer of $25,000 from the Commonwealth, excuse me, from the Commonwealth of Mass Department of Fire Services to Brockton Fire Department fiscal 2020 General Appropriation Act, Chapter 41 of the Acts of 2019 grant.
Refer to finance.
Order of total transfer of $1,500,000 from the DPW Highway Division Snow Removal to City Stabilization Fund.
Refer to finance.
Order that the City Council reauthorize the Parking Authority's Revolving Fund for revenues from parking fines up to and including an amount of $250,000 for fiscal 2021.
Refer to finance.
In orders of acceptance and expenditures of the grant award, any amount of $100,000 from the Commonwealth of Mass Marketing Partnership Grant to Council on Aging, Mass Marketing Partnership Grant Fund.
Counselor Farwell,
Madam President, I move suspension of the rules so this can be acted on this evening.
Second.
a motion's been made to take it under suspension of the rules and act on this evening. And it's been properly seconded. Have a roll call.
Councilor, Madam President,
Yes. Counselor,
Councilor Neary, if I might, I just want to, it's my understanding that this is just a partial, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's a total of $200,000 that is coming. Am I correct, Councilor Farwell?
Yes, the total amount is $100,000. This first $100,000 has to be expended by June 30th for the design and implementation of improvements to the parking lot. And that was
200, Counselor, you said 100, I believe. So it's 200, the total is 200,000?
no, there's 100,000 that we're accepting tonight, but according to the grant documents, there is another 100,000 that's
Yeah,
going to come.
Was that your
Okay.
question, Counselor Ianieri?
Well, it was, I mean, I did look it up to make sure because I had some concern with it. So, I mean, this is just the beginning of what the 100,000 is gonna put the plan into place, I believe, correct, Councilor?
It's more than that. It's to design, I'm sure, go out to bid and start some improvements because the delivery of goods and services and the money has to be expended in this fiscal year by June 30th. So if there were any delay, we would run the risk if we didn't accept this and we held up the work, there'd be some concern that the money might revert back to the original grantee.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
So roll call vote to accept this, to act on this evening. Attorney Resnick?
Asak,
Yes.
Cardozo,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Ianieri,
Yes,
Farwell,
Yes.
Lally,
Yes.
Mendez.
Yes.
We don't have Counselor Monahan and Rodriguez tonight, correct?
Correct. They're not.
Nicastro,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
that's 9 in the affirmative.
Okay. So that was to act on it this evening. Now we have to actually do the roll call for it, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So councilors, we're voting on the acceptance of the $100,000. So roll call vote. Do we need?
Asak,
Yes.
Cardozo,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Ianieri,
Yes.
Farwell,
Yes.
Lally,
Yes.
Mendez,
Yes.
Nicastro,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
That's 9 in the affirmative.
The order passes. Mr. Clerk, number 41.
Order that the City Council provide authorization for payment of the T-Mobile bill, any amount of $1,636 $1,000,000.65 from the library purchase of services.
Refer to finance.
Audit acceptance and expenditures of $267,149 from the U.S. Department of Justice and Bureau of Justice Assistance fiscal 2020 Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Funding Program grant to the Brockton Police Department fiscal 2020 Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Funding Program grant fund.
Madam President,
Yes, Counsel Fowler.
this is another one where I would move suspension of the rules so that this can be acted upon tonight, and I thank you for having Michelle here. in
Yes,
case-
I've asked Michelle and Chief Gomes, Police Chief Gomes, to be on the call.
Second. Second.
Second, sure. Do councilors, do you have any questions on this before we vote on it?
First, we have to vote to act on it tonight, correct?
Correct, but so Shannon, a motion was made to act on this evening, and it was properly seconded. Shannon, roll call vote to act on this evening.
Asak,
Yes.
Cardozo,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Ianieri,
Yes.
Farwell,
Yes,
Lally,
yes,
Mendez,
Yes.
Nicastro,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
That's 9 in the affirmative.
Okay, so councilors, like I mentioned, I've asked Chief Gomes and Michelle, who's the St. James, who's the grants coordinator for the Brockton Police Department, to be here this evening to answer questions. I know that Councilor Fowler had his hand up and Councilor Nicastro. So Councilor Fowler, go ahead.
well, I was just going to mention that fortunately, we were provided a detailed budget as to how these grant funds will be used, but I would defer to Michelle, who did all of the work, and ask that we accept this evening.
Okay. Councilor Nicastro, you have a question?
I just very simply wanted to ask Attorney St. James and Chief Gomes if they would briefly explain to us the reason for this.
The reason for asking for suspension?
No, the grant, what the grant is going to be used for. So
Okay.
that our listeners at home get it and why we're suspending the rule, why it's so important.
Michelle,
Okay.
would you like to
This-
answer that?
Sure. This grant came out of the CARES Act, and it is supplemental funding to the Burn JAG grant that Plymouth County usually gets and Brockton gets a share. But Brockton had its own allocation this year. And this is specifically to deal with, to respond to and prepare for the COVID-19 pandemic that we're going through, both to respond to it now and also to prepare for a second wave down the line. So this is a police, this is because this is a Bureau of Justice Assistance grant. It's the fiscal agent is the police department, but we worked with the fire department and City Hall to find out what the needs are for the coronavirus. And it was determined, obviously, first responders need personal protective equipment. That's number one. So we worked out with fire what their wish list would be for each month, what they think they need for PPE specific to coronavirus. And the police department did the same. And then we also talked to the city about dispensers for hand sanitizers, because there are in public buildings, we don't have many dispensers for hand sanitizer. So we were told what they needed. So that is worked into the grant. And then also because the police station is open to the public and there are many visitors when they go to get reports and et cetera, the police department will be disinfected twice monthly to ensure the safety of the public. And also police vehicles will be disinfected twice monthly, since they do also transport citizens.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Councilor Cruz.
Thank you. Just a couple of questions on the idea of, you said the vehicles will be twice monthly disinfected.
Yes.
Those are shared shift to shift, aren't they, those vehicles?
Yes, they are.
Is twice a month enough?
Well, we're wiping down the cars actually in between shifts, but this is an outside company that comes and completely disinfects the cruisers. We are trying, those cars are shared on 8-hour intervals by different officers, so they're getting wiped down by the personnel in between. But this is quite a cleaning process, twice monthly. If we have the opportunity to step it up, we also have an outside agency that comes in, Counselor, that takes care of our cruisers if they get if they get any kind of debris in them, or if there's human blood, any of that stuff in the car. That's also done. This is just COVID related for the protection of the officers.
Thank you. And Attorney St. James, this won't affect anything that the $90 million that the county has for reimbursements. This is totally separate.
This is completely separate.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. I have a quick question. I know that the fire department was using some type of a device, like a gun that disinfects. It's really quick, and I think they were like $800. Are we investing in anything like that for the police department?
Not to my knowledge, that was not put on this particular request, but if that comes up, this budget can be amended to suit the needs if we determine later on that something would better suit what we need to do for coronavirus protection.
Yes, there was I know the school department's invested in them, and so has the fire department, and they're really, they disinfect within like minutes, which is really great. So that
Okay,
would be something to look into.
okay.
Any other questions, counselors, or? Oh, thank you for both you. We'll go ahead with the roll call to accept this order. Attorney Resnick.
Asak,
Yes.
Cardozo,
yes,
Cruz,
Yes.
Ianieri,
Yes.
Farwell,
Yes.
Lally,
yes,
Mendez,
yes,
Nicastro,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
That's 9 in the affirmative.
The order passes favorably. Mr. Clerk, number 40, we're at 43, I believe.
43. That the city council authorizes the reauthorization of the Comcast revolving fund for fiscal 2021 from all cash receipts from Comcast franchise fees in excess of $675,000 pursuant to the cable license contract, and that further that the expenditures from this fund shall not exceed $750,000 without further appropriation during fiscal 2021.
Refer it to finance.
Audit acceptance and
Madam President, pardon me for interrupting. I apologize. On item number 42, I'd like to move reconsideration in the hope that it does not prevail. That's the police department grant.
Second.
A motion's been made for reconsideration in hopes it does not prevail, and properly seconded. Roll call vote for reconsideration.
Asak,
No.
Cardozo,
no,
Cruz,
No.
Ianieri,
No.
Farwell,
No.
Lally,
no,
Mendez,
no,
Nicastro,
No.
Thompson.
No.
That's 9 in opposition.
So the
So reconsideration fails.
reconsideration fails. Okay, but number
44.
number 44.
44.
Yes, thank you.
Audit acceptance and expenditures of $1,300 and acceptance of a kiosk from Commonwealth of Mass Department of Health authorized MED project grant to Brockton Police Department, Department of Health authorized MED project grant program.
Counselor Farwell.
This is another one the police department would like us to suspend the rules and act on it tonight. It is not a large grant, but the importance of having the kiosk and making available a place to deposit controlled substances is important. I'm sure Michelle could speak on this if she had to.
Do I hear a second, or?
Second.
Motion's been made to take this and act on this evening. It has been properly seconded. Roll call for to accept this evening.
Asak,
Yes.
Cardozo,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Ianieri,
Yes.
Farwell,
Yes.
Lally,
Yes.
Mendez,
Yes.
Nicastro,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
9 in the affirmative.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, you've already read it, right? So now we're voting on, we voted to accept, to vote on it this evening, correct?
It applies that you will suspend the rules to,
To suspend the rules,
on number 44.
right?
Right.
Counselor Cruz and
And it was to act on it this evening.
evening, correct?
Hey, just a quick question for Attorney St. James. Is this also under a time frame that we needed to? And it seems like we've got a lot of things that have a time frame. I'm not looking to be a stick in the mud, but
No, I understand. No, it's not actually, it's more that we found out we had gotten this grant when they sent the check. So we have the check in hand and we just don't want it sitting around is more what it is.
I agree with that. Okay, I don't like to see a regular pattern, so I just wanted to make sure, so.
No, we're not trying to start a pattern. This was just, we have the check and we just would like to put it to use instead of just have it sit
I
in
agree.
the
Okay,
records office.
thank you.
Counselor Thompson?
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. Ms. St. James, I just wondered, where would this kiosk be located?
It will be in the lobby of the police department.
Okay. And the 1,300 covers the full amount of the kiosk? We've already,
That's not for the kiosk. That's for overtime for officers to bring the medication that is collected to the CMAS site in Wareham, where it is put into an incinerator.
understood. Do we have a kiosk, or we plan to get a kiosk?
Well, this grant gave us a kiosk in addition to the check. So they both just arrived at the police department, and that's how we found out we were given the grant.
Understood. And this kiosk will be available for usage whenever the police station is open, right?
Correct.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Counselor Nicastro, you have a question?
Oh, thank you, Madam President, but my questions were all answered.
Okay. So right now, we're doing a roll call vote to accept this evening.
Asak,
Yes.
Cardozo,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes,
Ianieri,
Yes.
Farwell,
Yes.
Lally,
Yes.
Mendez,
Yes.
Nicastro,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
That's 9 in the affirmative.
The order passes favorably. Mr. Clerk?
Total proposed transfer of $100,000 from Auditor's Office Consultants for $25,000 and Police Department personal services other than overtime, court for $75,000 to Planning and Economic Development, other contract services.
Refer to Finance.
46 would be a resolve that a representative from the Mass Development appears before the Finance Committee to inform the committee about the Mass Property Assessed Clean Energy Program, PACE, Massachusetts, to provide a financing mechanism to private owners of commercial and industrial properties for certain qualifying commercial energy improvements.
Refer to Finance. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Thank you, Attorney Resnick, for being here tonight with us. Counselors, before we conclude, I just have a few announcements. First of all, I've received many calls regarding our budget and, people asking when our budget hearings are going to be. So I've been in constant contact with our CFO, and as of right now, the mayor and the CFO don't have a budget to present to us. So we're going to be patient. So it's not going to be in the next week or two. If anything, it will probably be mid-June. Just keep in mind, I would like you all to keep in mind that June 3rd to the 5th, BCA and Comcast are updating some equipment or, so BCA will be offline. So it will definitely not be around those dates. And I will let you know as soon as I hear from the CFO or the mayor, or depend on when to set the budget hearings. But I don't want to set hearings and not have, and then have them change. The other thing I wanted to go over is at the beginning of the year, we spoke about late files and, you know, especially now since we haven't had our meetings aren't as regular and we haven't had a meeting for the last couple of weeks. I don't see a reason for late files, so I would like everybody to make sure that if they have anything that they'd like on the agenda, to please make sure that it's in the clerk's office on time. And that way, all the councils have time to review, ask questions, and we can be prepared. Um, as well as, anything that may come up that you would want discussed with at our meetings, please there's plenty of time for everything so all counselors have all the information beforehand. We really shouldn't be getting things last minute. Before I go on to some counselors' recognitions, I did want to go over as well. I've received calls from constituents asking about, what are our policies, procedures for the city. And as far as I understand, we don't have anything that's separate for the city of Brockton. We're just following state guidelines with what's coming from the governor's office. But I really, we need to really buckle down and on our enforcement. I know we have Chief Gomes on the line with us, and I have to be honest, Chief, I would love to have you come before us maybe at some point and let us know how we're enforcing some of the policies, with parties. I know we've had issues. I know a lot of the councils have received calls with people just not following the procedures of wearing masks and social distancing. So I just, I think it's important that we know the facts and what we need to do on our end to help people, help everybody with the guidelines with how to move forward with this. So I don't know if you want to comment. Yeah, I know you're on the line with us this evening, but I happened to have been, behind a cruiser, and there was on Saturday, and there was a party, and the cruiser kept driving by. I was a little shocked. I thought for sure they would put their siren on or something just to tell people to move along. But so I'm not sure how you're dealing with that at the police
Well,
station.
Council, I would gladly come before the council and address all the factors that we're facing. And we are responding to every single call of social gatherings, parties. We've even had cookouts that we've been breaking up lately. Basketball games. We have officers at the different playgrounds, and I would welcome the opportunity to articulate that for you. Everything that we're doing. We're also enforcing the curfew. Some people just don't get it, as you know. But we are also, every cruiser has masks, procedural masks that we're handing out to people. We've taken a more educational approach and not to become confrontative with people. And the officers say that they've had pretty good results with that. As far as the social gatherings, that's been spotty at some places. With these large gatherings and even car washes, we've seen some of these younger people gather, and it's been. We've even had a couple house parties that we needed the entire shift to break up. So it depends on the actual event how much resources are needed. But I would welcome the opportunity to come in and explain all this.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And that would be great. And I think it's good to get the information out to people at home. And I know, I know it's a tough situation. I know and it's not easy, but I think we just have to somehow work together to figure out how we're going to get through this. Otherwise, it's just going to be pure chaos. So I appreciate it and look forward to having you come before us and whatever we can do on our end too. I mean, I'm asking the question because I want to be able to bring the information back to my constituents, back to my neighbors, back to my family, tell them, what are the consequences? And, we're relying on the police department right now because I'm understanding you're our only source of enforcement. The Board of Health is only there until 4 o'clock, and besides that, it's all on you, and it's a lot on your department, and I understand that, and it's not easy going into a party. You don't know what you're going up against when you have people, that are following the rules. But I think sometimes, like you said, educating them, educating our residents, making sure that they know, that what the rules are. So, thank you for all you're doing, and we'll have you before us just to go over a few things from your department. Thank you again for being on the call this evening to answer questions. Counselors, I see Counselor Castro, you had your hand up.
I do, thank you. And I am very glad that Michelle St. James and Chief Gomes were on the call. I've been in touch with Chief Gomes over the weekend, and so I was very aware of what was happening in Ward 4 and across the city. I just wanted to point out that Section 2-90 of our ordinances states that a 2/3 vote of the council present at a regular meeting can suspend a rule as to a late file. And it's absolutely fitting that we minimize the number of late files, but sometimes they have to be. Thank you, Madam President.
Counselor Farwell, you had a question or a statement?
Very briefly on the budget, I appreciate your efforts to try to put together a schedule. However, for the public, the reason we don't have a budget yet is we don't know the level of state aid, either Chapter 70 for our schools or unrestricted general government aid. So until we have something from the state, it would be ridiculous for us to proceed and hold budget hearings not knowing exactly what amount of money we will have. So I didn't want people to listen.
Yes, but that comes to the CFO and the mayor, and until they have that information, we don't have a budget in front of us to vote on. So
Yes, I just thought it was important to put that out there. Thank you.
yes, the mayor and the CFO is still waiting for the state. Counselor Cruz?
Thank you. I just like to, on a happy note, take a minute to wish the prettiest girl in Brockton a happy 35th wedding anniversary, my lovely bride, Donna, and myself. So happy anniversary to my wife. And
happy anniversary.
she'll kill me for this, but it's best 35 years of my life. So.
Oh, well, that's beautiful. Happy anniversary.
Thank you very much.
Lovely wife. With no further business before us this evening, this meeting's adjourned.
Madam President, too.
Oh. Mr.
No,
Clerk?
I believe I just adjourned. I just wanted to take a moment, if I could, to, as you know, my sister Casey Cambridge passed away on May 6th after a brief illness, which was complicated by the COVID-19. And my family and I would just like to thank everyone for the kind words and prayers that they have sent us. And I'd like to bless them all and tell them to be safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Take care.